Some notes.
Video.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi. Hello, Dominique.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully some other people will join us today. If not, then a few people contacted me and let me know that they're going to listen to the recording. So we have a lot of content today to cover, and I'm actually going to switch up our format a little bit, and we're going to start with our movement today because I want to end with a lot of deep work, and so I want to do the movement first. So let's have 4 new movements to coach this week and a breathing exercise. So why don't we start by, I'm going to move you to my living room now, and we're going to just do a little bit of exercising first, just coaching some movements, and then we will get into the talk.
Cool.
All right. So let me just get my notes real quick. All right. So we're going to do just a little warm up with circles. Start out with some head circles. And then let's go the other way. We're going to do some arm circles back. And then a little bit of elbow circles in, keeping the elbows at the sides. Starting to pay attention to our breathing, inhaling and exhaling. Let's do some wrist circles. Other direction. And some hip circles. Big hip circles. Other direction. Little knee circles. Other direction. And then balancing on one foot, we'll do ankle circles in one direction. And ankle circles in the other direction. Okay. Other leg. Ankle circles one direction. Other direction. Good. So we're going to start with the kind of lightweight band. I have only a bungee cord right now because my car got locked at the gym yesterday. I'll make do with this, but you want to have a light resistance band and do some arms overhead. Stretch your shoulders a little bit. Like this. Still a little warm up here. And then a couple of body weight squats to warm up the low body. Okay, really sit your butt back. Squeeze up, stand as tall as you can, Amanda, every rep, good. Keep going. Can you get down lower, Karen?
Yep.
Exhale on the way up. Good. So one new principle I want introduce to you today is that our last rep needs to be our best rep in every set of exercises that we do, because the last rep imprints on our nervous system, and that's what our body remembers. So we want to make sure that whatever we're doing, that last rep has to be good. And if your last rep isn't so good, it's okay. Collect yourself and do another good rep. So always end on a really high note in all of your movements, so that that's what your nervous system remembers, okay? So the first exercise we're going to do today is for posture and upper back. It's called band pull-aparts. So I want you to take that lightweight band again. You're going to put it in your hands with your palms up. So I'm holding it like this. It's a little dark over here. I'm holding it like this in my hands, okay? You can stand up or you can kneel, it doesn't matter. What I want you to do is you're going to keep your elbows at your sides like this, okay? And then you're going to open by squeezing your upper back, drawing your scapula together as you open, and then just bring your hands back to neutral. Open and squeeze. As I open, my sternum is coming forward. Good. Should feel some work in the upper back, do you?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you feel work in the front of the shoulder, that means you have too much tension on the band, okay? So we're gonna do this in kind of high reps. I want you to do 20 reps because I really want you to start to dial in that feeling of those posture muscles in the upper back. Make sure that your shoulders are far away from your ears as you do this and you don't allow them to rise up, okay? And that's a good idea. I hear you're breathing as you pull away during the hard part of the movement here. Inhale, exhale, good. You starting to feel that in the upper back?
Yep.
So this is the place that we need to build endurance in our back so that our shoulders can stay in the right position and we can have good posture. This part of our back is often very underdeveloped, and the muscles are usually too long in that area. And what happens when they're too long is that our shoulders come forward and that our chest closes up here. So what we're trying to do here with all the band pull overhead is open the muscles in the front and tighten the muscles in the upper back. Okay, good. All right, so that's the first movement. It's pretty simple. Second movement is a half kneeling press. So we've been doing tall kneeling press in the workouts where we're on 2 knees, right? Like this. So the press part is the same, but what we're going to change now is we're going to take a little bit of stability away in our lower body by coming into this half kneeling position, okay? So in the half kneeling position, we have a right angle with this leg in the front, and we also have a right angle in the back. It's very important. The other thing we're going to do with our half kneeling position is we're going to make it so that our feet are hip, or stance is hip width to begin with. This is going to make it easier for you to balance. As you become more adept in this movement, you can start to tightrope it in. And once we narrow our base like this, we're really going to be putting a lot of demands on our core. So come into that half kneeling position in a hip width to begin with. Okay, and you're going to press with the hand that's on the side that has the knee on the floor. Okay, so right away you're going to feel, oh wow, I have to balance here with this uneven weight. Excuse me. So what I want you to do is you're going to tighten the glutes. On the side that has the knee down, you're going to squeeze the butt cheek there, okay? And then you're going to press up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And Amanda, you want to get right next to your ear as your bicep next to your ear as you press?
Yeah, I have a problem because the cat snapped my thing in half. She
use a can of food.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you get the form right. Karen, can you give me a profile view? Good. How's that feel, Karen?
Good.
All right, now I want you to experiment with narrowing your stance. So start tight roping that front leg so that you have a narrower base. Do you feel more work in your core and how you have to balance more?
Yeah, and squeezing the butt helps.
Yep. So you can progress this exercise without increasing the weight by narrowing your base, and always try to stay in control. So the more you squeeze that butt cheek on the knee that's on the ground, the easier you'll have balancing. Okay? Do you feel the work in your core?
Yep.
Do you have heavier weights than that?
Nope, not here.
Okay. You definitely need heavier weights than that eventually, because I can see that's easy for you.
I know, I'm a wimp with my weights, but I have heavier ones in Texas. I'm in New York.
Good. All right. Sounds good. All right. Next. We're going to do donkey kicks next. Okay. And we're going to do inverted donkey kicks. And these are kind of difficult. So I'm going to demo for you. I feel that most people who've been doing the program probably have the upper body strength to do this, but it requires stamina on your upper body, because you're going to be in this kind of downward dog position like this, right? And then you're going to bring your knee into your chest and kick up. Knee into the chest, kick up. All right? So when I kick up, I'm leaving my knee bent. That's important. Okay? Let's give that a try. Try to make sure that your hips stay still in this movement too, as still as you can. Yes. And Karen, kick your leg so it's even up higher, so your butt, your foot is closer to your butt as you kick up. You feel that in your glutes?
Yep.
Do 10 on each side.
I gotta turn my air conditioning on. Hold on.
Looking good, Amanda. Go ahead and switch, Amanda.
Pardon?
Switch sides.
Yeah, I've just switched.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
My left is, I'm definitely weak on my left.
You know, you can always do a few more reps on the side that is weaker.
Yeah, I think I should.
In the app, you can even, you know, either take a little bit less rest between the movements or put a pause on it and do a few extra reps on that side. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Karen, one little cue for you. When you're doing your donkey kick, this is what I see you doing. You're kind of extending your leg. I don't want you to extend your leg. I want you to keep it in the same position. You see how my hand stays the same? You're going to get a little bit more of a glute squeeze that way.
Okay.
All right.
I'm trying not to go hard on my finger, so I was kind of rushing through this.
What's going on with your finger again?
I stabbed myself with a knife, so I got stitches.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so it's like hard to.
I'm sorry. You know,
do that.
If you have difficulty during the week, you don't have to go so inverted, because that might be more pressure on your hands. You can a higher position, even this.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You can just use the heels of your hands. So yeah,
that's good.
It feels better. And that goes for anybody who's having difficulty sustaining that downward position in the upper body. Okay. So if you feel like you're getting too tired in the movement to produce quality movements, you can always, you know, shift your position so that you're not bearing as much weight. Okay. And that goes for our movements. All right, the next movement I want to coach is, The next movement that I want to coach is, I really want you to be careful with this, but I do want to do some tricep work. So we're going to do some dips from a counter or a table. I think that this is a great height. This little table that I have here, which is my coffee table. Okay. So what I'm going to do is start out by sitting on it. And then I'm going to put the heels of my hand on the table. I'm going to make sure that my shoulders are far away from my ears the entire time, and I'm going to scooch my butt off. Now I'm going to come down and I'm going to press up. I'm not going to come so far though that the shoulder starts to tilt forward here, right? I want to keep an open posture in my upper body. So I'm only going to go as far as I can while maintaining that open posture in my shoulders. So see what happens when I go too far, how it dips forward, my shoulders come forward. I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay in the shorter range of motion. I just want to squeeze those triceps. Inhale, exhale, okay? So see if you can find a surface there that you can use. Good, Karen. And make sure your hands are close, right underneath your shoulders to start. Your hands look a little wide, Karen.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Good. How's that feel?
Good.
See if you can get your butt even closer to the bed. Yeah, so you're coming straight down. That's good. And make your hands closer together behind you. Yep. How's that?
Good.
You're going to exhale as you come up. Good. Keep your eyes on the horizon and make sure your head stays still. Good. Amanda, let's see. Good. Amanda, get your butt closer to the chair a little bit. There you go. Good. I think you can come down a little bit further, Amanda. There you go. Good. Yes. Awesome. So the tricep muscles often fatigue easily, but once you start training, that's like the bat wing area. So it's a vanity thing that we want to do, but it also is very important for our shoulder health. The stronger our triceps are, the more healthy our shoulders are. And we really want to focus on keeping all of our joints, especially the complicated joints like our hips and our shoulders, really healthy through perimenopause. Okay. All right, great. So next thing we're going to do is something that I learned in my prenatal postpartum training. If you have one of those yoga balls to sit on, that's perfect. I don't have one because it really just allows you to relax. But I would recommend that you at least sit on a pillow if you're going to sit cross-legged, so you have a little bit more comfort in your hips. So you can stack a couple pillows up, and you're going to come into this cross-leg position. Okay, good. So we're going to put one hand on the side of the belly and one on the bottom. And you're just going to close your eyes now. This is a breathing exercise. I want you to sit really tall so that it's almost like you have a ponytail. Someone's pulling you up by your ponytail, so that your spine is nice and long, but not tense, okay? So you're just going to start by inhaling in your nose, exhaling out of the mouth. Couple breaths here. Now, as we inhale, what we're going to do is we're going to soften all the spaces. So imagine like your belly, your lungs get bigger and softer, more relaxed. As you inhale, now as we exhale, we're going to tighten everything up. Your core gets super tight. Inhale, make it big and soft. Exhale, tight. Practice that a couple times. Now we're going to add the pelvic floor in. So as you inhale, imagine everything relaxing. Your pelvic floor. Now as we exhale, we're going to gradually tighten up the pelvic floor as we tighten up the core. Almost imagine that you're drawing a tissue up your pelvic floor. As you exhale, nice and smooth. Try to make that contraction really smooth. Inhale, let's do 5 more breaths like that. Shoulders are always relaxing away from the ears. Two more breaths. Good. So that pelvic floor work and core work that we did is to help train our bodies so that we start to unconsciously recruit our core, our pelvic floor, when we are doing things that require effort. And this is important for us, in all stages of life, but particularly around prenatal, postpartum, and perimenopause, when there are, of course, pregnancy gives you changes, physical changes that require a whole adjustment of your pelvis. Well, again, in perimenopause, when we have reduced estrogen, also changes in the pelvis happen. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about our lady garden another time. All right. So I'm going to move to my desk now, and we're going to start to work on our talk for today, which is all about why things that used to work don't work anymore in perimenopause. And we're talking particularly about food and self-image. Okay. So today we're going to do some deep work and some fun, maybe some not fun, but good stuff. Okay. So I want to start out by, instead of checking in about how our weeks were today, see if we can dial in what is the story you tell yourself about food and weight. And if you have a pen and pencil, I suggest you get that now, because we're going to be doing some note taking today. And I can go first. I mean, I'll tell you that my story about my weight, my body image has changed a lot over time. Thank God. The story that I used to tell myself all the time was that I was in a constant battle with my ass. So that I had to do whatever was necessary to keep that ass from getting out of control. Because I literally was born with a big butt. And, growing up in the 80s and 90s, when the flat butt was what was in, I really felt at odds with my body and my body image. So I would exercise excessively in order to keep that part of my body in control. Now my story's changed, and my butt is actually my nexus of power, metaphorically and physically. And I've come to embrace it. And also the beauty standards have changed, which has been helpful to me in my body type. But, that was my story. Okay. So I've come through, the threshold of changing that story. I still have other stories. Now my current story, I think, is I don't need food, which is not right. I don't have time for food. That's what my story is right now. Okay, so anyone want to go next?
Karen, well volunteered. Karen. How do I say your name?
Karen.
Karen, okay.
Did you volunteer me? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. I would say, I don't know. I felt pretty lucky. Like I didn't have to do much to stay in shape. Like I was naturally pretty muscular and lean, and it didn't really matter what I ate or whether I worked out. And now as I get older, it's like all of that matters. And, I'm like gaining weight for the first time. My old tricks don't work. Like my old trick would be just like eat a little less for a week, or like rein it in. And now it's like, reining it in doesn't make me lose anymore. It just like stays there. So I feel like, I have to work a lot. Like I'm in a stage of having to work a lot harder right now and then I'm like, all right, you're going to fucking do this because you're tired of it. So like hit that rock bottom moment. And now I've been consistent for probably like a month, I would say. But it's making me change to like, I'm going to have to be consistent forever is my new thought.
Okay. So I'm hearing two stories that you're telling yourself, that you have to work hard to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
and that you're going to have to be ultra consistent to maintain.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are your two stories.
Mm-hmm. And also, you know, work hard at working out, but also at, you know, I have to eat much better than I ever did.
Okay. All right. Amanda.
Some of that resonates with me. I've always been sporty. I haven't, you know, quite lean, petite, haven't really had to bother. But as you know, I got a severe illness 15 years ago, and that just messed everything up. And I think lockdown, putting 10 pounds on just for eating crap, it shocked me a lot. And I think one of the pluses of meeting you lot is you came at just the right time, because I realized, like Karen, that, you know, my mental thoughts about food now have changed significantly over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I had a meltdown this week, and I had pizza, chocolate, cheese. I just felt I needed that fat. It lasted 2 days. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't feel too bad, because I knew that I've got a plan now, mm-hmm. to get me back on. Whereas Good. Before, you know, 3 months ago, if I'd done that, I would just think, well, I've had a really crap day, and I know I'll wake up feeling even crappier tomorrow. But now I think, okay, I've had a good day with my family. Tomorrow I go back on that food plan. And I don't see it as a diet. I don't need that much weight to be lost now. I've lost £1 pound a week doing your thing. So £3 in 3 weeks without even thinking about it.
Without being hungry.
Without being hungry. Yeah, I think that's it. And I have changed how I look at a plate of food now. And that's you lot as well, because who was it put that lovely fish dish up?
Oh, Miriam.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, I'm going to do that, because I was cooking fish and dumping it on the plate, and I really made an effort the day after. And yeah, it's changed Good. How my family receive food as well. So food to me now is more of a fuel, keeping my body fit.
Excellent. Well, both of you are starting from a healthy baseline, compared to, you know, a lot of people I work with, myself included, you know, what I've come through in terms of disordered eating in my lifetime. But both of you sound like you're coming from a healthy place. So some of the things that we do today may or may not bring things up for you, but we'll see, because a lot of times our unconscious beliefs are not aligning with our conscious goals. So we're going to try to dig into that. So today we're going to confront our stories and beliefs around food, and talk about how the subconscious beliefs and the negative programming have a tendency to put our body on autopilot. We're going to confront our limiting beliefs about body image. We're going to talk about why things that used to work don't work anymore. And what we can do in midlife to improve our health, our body image, and to kind of confront our limiting beliefs. But also, you know, what we can do literally in terms of food and diet. And then why attending to our body composition is actually important in midlife. I'm going to lead you through a very deep exercise at the end, which some things might come up for you or might not. We'll see. So I just want to talk a little bit about myself in terms of my approach as a coach and a woman's coach. I've said this before, and I know it's kind of bold of me to say, but I am not a weight loss coach. And I've been vocal about that before. That's not to say that some of my clients, some of my clients do have the goal of weight loss, and I honor whatever my clients' goals are, but I do not personally market myself as a weight loss coach. The reason that I don't is because I do not want to contribute to a culture that capitalizes on self-loathing and tells women that they need to be smaller in order to be valuable. I do, however, take a lot of men weight loss clients. So most of my weight loss clients are my guys who are in their midlife, and I feel very comfortable working with them in that realm. And I will support women with whatever they want to do. And certainly if you follow the plan and you have excess weight, it will come off, as long as you address the underlying beliefs that you have about your body's ability to do that, which is what we're going to talk about today. If you look at this culture of self-loathing that we live in, and just in our short lifetime, the different trends and beauty standards that we have witnessed and possibly felt the need to conform to in order to be valued in our society have been varied. And starting with the 60s and 70s, the beauty standard being Pixie, who was that supermodel with the really short hair. And she, very cute, was slender, thin, very long legs, and had an adolescent look. So that was the beauty standard when we were children, was that kind of slender, almost androgynous, cute, playful little girl kind of standard. And then in the 80s, we had slightly more athletic and svelte, slightly curvier, tall, toned arms. I don't know if you remember Elle magazine. Elle magazine was like my enemy. I loved and hated Elle magazine because I compared myself to the bodies in that magazine and the looks in that magazine daily. And I would even draw pictures of myself as a skinny model because I wanted that really, thin look that I was seeing in magazines that my body just couldn't do. I don't have those genes. In the 1990s, we had the horrible picture of heroin chic, like unhealth being the beauty standard, with, like extremely pale, starved looking, wafy, translucent skin, androgynous, like interestingly enough, like almost not with the typical feminine attributes that we have assigned to beauty, like boobs and butt. And now in the 2000s, it's almost like we've gone in the opposite direction. If you look on Instagram, the beauty standards are completely changed now. J-Lo helped me by coming on the scene with her big butt. Thank God for her.
Oh.
I was like, at the first time I saw her on television, I was like, oh my God, my world is going to change. Finally, big butts are okay. So, but today it's almost like it's like big butts on steroids. I mean, literally, women are getting butt implants and boob implants, and younger and younger. And the cosmetic surgeries are happening younger and younger. In fact, a lot of the women that I see who have, injected lips, injected faces, boobs, butt jobs are women in their 20s. So women are feeling pressured to do this so much earlier than we were. And not only that, this like hyper feminine form that's being displayed everywhere with huge boobs and huge butt and literally waist cinching that is basically like going back to the 1850s with corsets, that women are minimizing their waist for their beauty, which really compromises their core strength and their digestive ability as well. So we have a lot of distortions about beauty that we didn't even have growing up now with social media, in that we don't even know what's real. There's all these apps, as you know, you can change the way your waist looks and you can filter things and do all kinds of things that were not available to us. So we're living in this non-reality beauty standard. So we've felt like the need to conform to these standards through our entire life, consciously or unconsciously, and measured ourselves and our self-worth according to someone else's ideas of beauty. And it's hard for us not to, because we live in this culture that values us for our beauty and reproductive ability. It's changing slowly, but it's not changed. Clearly, it's not fully changed. Now, if you look back at pictures of yourself from 10 years ago, right? You say to yourself, what the hell was I complaining about? Or 20 years ago, I was feeling fat, I was feeling ugly. And now when you look back at those pictures of yourself, you're like, what? Why was I torturing myself, right? Don't you have that experience?
Definitely.
Okay, we're going to have that experience 20 years from now too. We're going to be like, what the hell were we complaining about, right? So hindsight is always 20/20. Remember that? Now, I want to say something else about my approach. Weight loss is not a measure of success or health. And that's another reason why I don't use before and after pictures in any of my testimonials, because women have the same worthiness, whether they're 50 pounds heavier or lighter. And I don't want to contribute to this idea that, oh, I finally made it, I'm worth something now, I'm smaller, So I don't do that. And if you notice, all of my testimonials from my clients, they don't talk about weight loss. They talk about what they can do. They talk about how they feel. And for me, that's a much greater measure of success, is how we feel. Okay. Because when we feel good, we look good. I mean, there's no way to separate those two. It's the truth. There are other ways to measure our success in terms of our body composition that don't have to do with numbers on the scale, and those that do have to do with how much lean body mass we have and what our percentage of body fat is. And those actually are important. I am also, even though I am not a weight loss coach, I'm also not a healthy at every size coach. I don't believe that we're healthy at every size. Actually, I think that the body positive movement has gone so far in that direction that there's a degree of denial around body composition that is not contributing to women's health. Okay. It's kind of sweeping the issue under the carpet. Okay. So calories in and calories out, also something I don't believe in. Eat less, work out more, doesn't work. Okay. Food choices, the quality and the timing of our food, that's what we need to focus on in terms of how we nourish ourselves. Okay. So in midlife, we may come to a place where we're experiencing unexpected weight gain. That, like what you described, Karen. Mm-hmm. All the same things that were working before, all of a sudden, what the heck, right? So what happens? Why does that happen? Well, if you listen to my call from last week, I talked about how Christiane Northrup talks about why different wake-up calls we have in our life, PMS, seasonal affective disorder, postpartum depression, and perimenopause as the mother of all wake-up calls. Okay. So at this time, all this stuff that's unresolved is coming to the surface. And the more stuff that we have that's unresolved, the more symptoms we have, the more weight gain we have, the worse we feel. Okay. But this is not a negative thing. This is an opportunity to address underlying stuff. Okay. So some of the things that get us to this tipping point are metabolic stress that's long-term and been cumulative through our life, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in this next section. Toxic stress, in which our sympathetic nervous system is engaged on a continual basis, which puts us into a complete hormonal shitstorm. We'll talk about that too. Relationship changes. As I mentioned in the talk last week, this is a kind of time where we might be experiencing boundary conflicts with people because our standards and our requirements are raising, basically. And so we are maybe no longer as willing to let the status quo go, because we're coming into our truth-saying time, and we're saying how we feel about things. That could cause some conflicts with people. And so we might be experiencing relationship changes as a result of those conflicts. And those conflicts are not necessarily a bad thing. It's how we approach them that we need to be mindful of. Caretaking. There are women in this group who are taking care of their mothers and their fathers, and that's an additional burden, and some of them already parents to young children. And then also the resurfacing of old traumas, which we talked about last week. And this being a time that we want to go and heal unresolved emotional things from the past, which is a natural emotional process that kind of coincides with perimenopause, or an opportunity that coincides with perimenopause. So we have this health bank account that we put into and that we take out of. And the health bank account is fed, among other things, with activities that stimulate our parasympathetic nervous system. Our parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and digest. That's where we relax. That's where we heal. That's where we feel calm, okay? And the nerve that is responsible for that nervous system is very responsible. The primary nerve is called the vagus nerve, which connects our gut to our brain. So the more we can do activities that nourish that vagus nerve and that vagal nerve tone and stimulate our sympathetic nervous system, the more money we're putting into our health savings account, okay? And we're building up our reserve there. We're creating resilience. We're creating long-term health. We are creating a foundation that we can live from in a more homeostatic way, okay? On the other side of the coin, we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, and freeze, okay? Every time that is activated, we're literally taking money out of that nice health savings account that we've built up with our parasympathetic activities, okay? Literally every time. So anytime you feel like you're going into that fight or flight, you're getting so emotionally triggered that that's happening, you are literally taking away from your health. So we have to find ways to manage this. That's why I've put a lot of this stuff in Periwink around stress management, around cortisol, and kind of things that help with the parasympathetic nervous system. So the more we can practice that, the better we're going to feel, the longer term health we have, okay? Also, your life and relationships reflect your ability to nourish yourself. And when women in this stage find that they've been caring for others or meeting the needs and expectations of others their entire life, and now they're ready for a change, that's an opportunity to nourish yourself metaphorically and literally in a different way. Okay, so what happens to us? Something that I get really frustrated about when I see a lot of talk about menopause online and even in great publications and talks and podcasts and articles, all I hear about is hot flashes. Hot flashes are real, okay? But that is further down the road in perimenopause than when most women start to actually experience symptoms. What is not addressed, which frustrates the heck out of me, is estrogen dominance, okay? Nobody ever discusses estrogen dominance, even the doctors. Estrogen dominance happens to most of us in the beginning of perimenopause. Because what happens isn't our estrogen just doesn't take a diver in the beginning. What happens is progesterone starts to decrease. And our progesterone and our estrogen have to be in balance with each other. The ratio has to be right. So when the progesterone falls, it leaves estrogen too high, okay? Now, it can just be generally a little bit too high in relationship, or it can be that you have spikes of estrogen, which I do. And I can feel when they're, now that I know, I can feel it happening. So when that happens, that estrogen dominance, imagine estrogen is our, like I said last week, it's our beauty, our femininity, our roundness, our softness, our caretaker. Those are all attributed to estrogen, right? What else is attributed to estrogen? It is a growth factor. Estrogen is what helps us to grow babies. Estrogen is what helps us to grow, our eggs. So because it's a growth factor, it also grows our fat cells. So if our progesterone is not in proper alignment with our estrogen, we're going to have bigger fat cells. Now, there's this whole myth about fat loss. We don't lose fat. Our body does not lose fat. Our body has the same amount of fat cells always. They either grow bigger or they shrink. So fat loss is really fat shrinking. So when you have excess estrogen and it stores in your fat because your liver's not metabolizing, I'll get back to that in a second, what happens is your fat cells get bigger, okay? So that is a big problem in perimenopause that is not discussed. So there are ways that you can manage estrogen hormonal disruption in perimenopause. And I'll talk about each one of these. So you can avoid conventional red meat. Conventional red meat is chock full of estrogen. So if you can, the more you can eat grass-fed meat, organic red meat, the better. Fish, poultry, great. There are some goitrogenic vegetables that, when eaten raw, like kale, have an effect on the thyroid. That disruption can also cause weight gain. There are many phytoestrogens in soy products, even in flax seeds, which might be good on the other side of menopause. But during perimenopause, I would be very cautious about adding anything that is increasing my estrogen when I'm already probably at a progesterone deficit, okay? Alcohol is horrendous for estrogen dominance, because what happens when we have excess hormones, any kind of excess hormones in our body, they're processed through our liver. So in this time in perimenopause, our liver's already working hard. Our liver's already trying to clean out all the excess. Our liver is our fat burning organ too. So it's trying to process all these excess estrogens, other hormones that are not in balance. And then if we add alcohol into it, it slows our ability to metabolize that alcohol. It slows our ability to process the estrogen. And basically it funnels the excess estrogen to our fat cells, which then make us fatter. Well, make us look fatter, make our fat grow in size instead of shrink. The other thing is avoiding plastics. I read something the other day. I was like, oh my God, the average person ingests a credit card worth of plastic a week. That's just in processed food, in the packaging, in cosmetics, in all, breathing. A credit card a week, that's nuts. Well, there's tons of estrogens, environmental estrogens in those that get into our body. And there's a lot of environmental pollutants. There's pollutants in waters. It's really, as much as you can do to limit your estrogens and limit that hormonal disruption through your lifestyle. I mean, we're surrounded by it. It's overwhelming, actually. I even stopped using stevia because I read some information when I found out that I was estrogen dominant. I read some information that stevia can be hormonally disruptive. So consider, if you've been using stevia for a long time, maybe you want to consider using something else. So now I use honey instead. Okay. The other thing that's going to help affect our ability to maintain our weight is cortisol. I'm going to talk more in depth about the hormones and hormone replacement and all that other stuff in another talk, but I'll tell you, I've mentioned cortisol before. I'll mention it again. It's a lot of our sleep habits are around cortisol, okay? And our stress management is also around cortisol. We need cortisol. Cortisol is our get up and go hormone. We need cortisol in the morning in order to wake up and start our day, okay? And our cortisol and melatonin, I mentioned in the sleep talk, are in an inverse relationship. So we want to make sure that they're balanced and that we're getting our cortisol circulating in our body at the right time. So that's most cortisol in the morning, decreasing over the day, so that by the time we get to bed, our melatonin is at a height and we're ready to sleep, okay? Our melatonin is gonna decrease through the night so that we're ready to wake up with our cortisol again, okay? But what happens with cortisol is produced by our adrenal glands. It's our stress hormone. It is the hormone that sends us into fight, flight, and freeze. So it is a hormone that stimulates that sympathetic nervous activity that robs our bank account, our health bank account, okay? So it's very important that we do things that nourish our adrenal glands and control spikes of cortisol, okay? Because what happens also with cortisol, not only does it rob our health savings account, like I just mentioned, but it messes up and it actually steals the building blocks of other hormones that we need in order to maintain our best balance, including DHEA, estrogen, and progesterone. So it works against the balance of all these other hormones. So if your cortisol is off, it's going to make a cascade effect on all these other hormones. So the way to address that is by optimizing our sleep, optimizing our nutrition, and also making sure that we have moments of pleasure instead of moments of stress. So dialing into the things that bring us joy in midlife are going to help us offset the cortisol as well. And then the final thing that I was going to say in terms of why things didn't work that used to work is, by the time we're 30, we start to experience muscle loss gradually every year, every decade. That happens, when we don't actively work to maintain and grow muscle. And so what happens is, even if your weight doesn't change, your body composition changes, so that, yes, you may weigh 125 pounds, and before you had 70 pounds of muscle and the rest was fat, maybe you only have 60 pounds of muscle now, and the rest has become replaced with fat. Your clothes don't fit the same, but muscle weighs more than fat. So you might not even gain weight, but you have this change in your ratio of lean mass to fat that affects your metabolism. So our muscle mass fuels our ability to burn calories. The more muscle mass that we have, the higher our metabolic rate is. Our resting metabolic rate is what's required just for us to be alive, okay, and lay on the couch passively. The more muscle mass that you have, the needle moves up on that metabolic rate. So that means that you can eat more and your body will metabolize it more. So we want to keep the muscle mass high for a number of reasons. First of all, it's going to help with your metabolism. Second of all, your body composition is going to be more what you want. And third of all, the more muscle mass that we have, the longer we live. I mean, it's literally, I know you've heard me say it, Karen, stronger people are harder to kill, but it's true. And there's studies have been conducted that tell us, the people who are living the longest are the ones who retain their muscle mass. The people who are living the longest also are the ones who have good grip. So working on our strength and our muscle mass is so important as we age. And I know there's been a lot of women, I've heard, not anyone who works with me, but are worried about getting too big. And at this point of life, like we'd be lucky to have the muscle mass that we had when we were 30. It's going to take work, and it's going to take fueling our bodies, and it's going to take consistent strength work. If you get big in this time, I'm impressed. Okay. I even can't get big now. And I have a hormonal profile that allows me to carry more muscle on my frame. It would be hard for me to get big. And as heavy as I train, so please don't worry about getting big. What may happen when you're strength training though, is you may start to grow mass under your fat. So you might say, hey, oh my God, my pants are tighter. You have to get to that tipping point where basal metabolic rate has raised up high enough that you're then burning more calories and the fat is shrinking. Okay. And there are different things that go into that. Okay. So don't worry if your pants are initially a little bit tighter in your training. Okay. So the problem with losing muscle mass is we continue eating the same, maybe, right? We're still eating the same diet and no problem, we think. But because our metabolic rate is lower, we're putting on weight, even if we weigh the same. Okay. So that's what the women who still kind of weigh around the same, what they always weighed, who are carrying less muscle now, are gaining weight, and they're like, what the heck's going on here? Well, if you don't have the same muscle mass, you can't eat the same amount of food. You have to adjust your diet down to, to the proper ratio. So that's why don't even worry about adjusting your diet down. Just increase your muscle mass. Who wants to be restricted? Not me. Okay, so. Okay, here's where I'm going to go into why I'm not a body healthy at every size coach. We are not healthy at every size. I'm not saying that you can't be healthy and be a big woman. And believe me, I have tremendous respect for women of every size, shape, and color. I have competed with the best of them. I have competed with women who are amazing athletes at 250 pounds. The problem with uncontrolled fat growth in our body, particularly in midlife, is that the things that happen to us hormonally tend to contribute to weight gain in this area and turn us maybe more from a pear to an apple. If we already had an apple shape tendency from our genetics, it becomes even more so in this time. Okay. So why is this important? Well, our diet and the way that we approach food and the way that we eat and the way we carry fat actually affects when we go through menopause. If we can, and are willing to and interested in, we can actually prolong our perimenopause so that we go through menopause later. Why would we want to do that? There are much better health outcomes for women who go through menopause later. So the more that we can do to limit our consumption of refined carbohydrates, alcohol, and smoking, the better we're setting ourselves up to have menopause later. We want that, okay? There are studies about, okay, so I want to talk about what happens when we gain weight in that middle area of our body and what kind of weight that is and what that does to us, okay? So what it is, we have a couple of different kinds of fat in our body. We've got three kinds. We've got brown fat, which we need in our brain. We have subcutaneous fat. That's the cellulite fat that we complain about, which is not very harmful, by the way, at all. And then we have the harmful fat, which is visceral fat. And that is literally the fat that lives between our organs in our torso. So I work with clients all the time, and I put them on this machine called the InBody, and I'll look at their percentage of body fat and their visceral fat. It always comes down to that number, the visceral fat number, how many cubic centimeters of fat they have in their torso. That is their measure for longevity. If it's below 10 centimeters, we're pretty good. If it's above 10 centimeters, that's the work that needs to be done. way above and beyond anything else, okay? Because that visceral fat is extremely metabolically active. And what I mean by that is that it is related to hormone-related illness. So it carries, it actually makes hormones, that kind of fat. Other kinds of fat make hormones too, but especially that visceral fat and that belly fat can create absolute hormonal havoc on our bodies. And it is associated with hormone-related diseases like cancer and diabetes and also Alzheimer's. So it is really important to get that under control without feeling like you're beating yourself up. Okay. Oh my gosh, we're almost out of time. I might have to break this into 2 parts. I want to do one quick exercise with you. Do you have enough time to stay on for a couple minutes, or do you have to go?
I can stay.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to have to break this into 2 parts. Holy crow. I have so much to say about this. Okay. We're going to skip over what we can do. I'll have this written up for you instead. And we're going to go into some deep work, burning some old ideas. And we're going to talk about accepting our bodies, which is necessary for health. We're going to try to address the areas that we don't love and those areas that maybe have stagnant energy, which attracts more fat and disease, by the way. So we need to confront our areas of unlove about our body. Okay, so in your mind, if you could just review your story that you were telling yourself about food, and if you had any additional insights since we started this talk. If you gained any weight, maybe close your eyes and think about these questions I'm going to ask you. What stresses coincided with that weight gain? I know a lot of people gained weight in the pandemic and it was extremely stressful, but what in particular was the fear around that time or whatever circumstance it was that accompanied the weight gain? Okay, what is your default eating pattern when you're stressed? Is there a particular trigger to that behavior? In some cases, especially with sexual assault victims, they may carry weight as a protection. What is the excess weight protecting you from? And then think about what kind of eating pattern or tendency you might do in the late afternoon. This is when our serotonin and our cortisol decrease. What is your go-to at that time? Okay, so I'm going to show you something right now, which I want you to just follow me. It's an exercise. It's face tapping. So I want you to feel free to employ this exercise whenever you're feeling stressed. I use it when my children are pissing me off, or when I just feel like triggered about the man that I'm dating, whatever it is. I learned it when I was a Waldorf teacher. And what we're going to do is we're going to stimulate the trigeminal nerve, which is a nerve on our face, 3 nerves actually, that tie into our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest. So it helps kind of bring the stress down and, get you out of that fight or flight state. So you're going to start, it's always rhythmic. It has to be regular and rhythmic. So you're going to start by tapping your forehead here. And you're going to come down to that third eye area. Now you're going to go around your eyebrows to your temples with rhythmic taps back up to the third eye. Now we're going to come down right underneath the eyes, along the cheekbones, up onto the sides of the nose, back to the third eye. Now we're going to come down what I call do the mustache. Back up to the temples again. Now we're going to do the beard. Back up to the temples again. Now we're going to go over the head to the headband, I call it. And then back to the temples, around the ears. And back to the temples. Okay, that's a whole circuit of it, okay? So I'm gonna have you do this now. And you're going to, it's okay if you don't get the pattern exactly right. You can go back to it later and I'll record it in the app. But I want you to breathe and I want you to tap. And what I want you to do, just start, and I'm gonna read this to you. Go ahead and start your tapping. Close your eyes. So you're going to be breathing as you do this. And I want you to bring up your current limiting belief around body image and food. And you want to include all of your senses about this. So how you feel about it, you know, how you feel about your body sensation in terms of this limiting belief. How you look that you may or may not like, what your future fear is about this limiting belief, something it may remind you of from childhood or an earlier time in your life. And then finally, what you believe about yourself related to this body image belief. And note on a scale of 1 to 10 how strongly this triggers you right now. Okay. Now just take a little break, breathe a couple times, and we're going to do it again. This time we're going to do an affirmation that replaces what you said. Now you're going to say, for instance, now I make healthy decisions that support my healthy weight, or I am so happy and grateful now that I can fit into my pants and I feel because I feel and look fabulous. I like to put the because in there. You're always going to say your affirmation as though it's already happened. Okay. So now try to tap one more time. And you're going to use your affirmation. I'm so happy and grateful now that I feel this way. I'm so happy and grateful I feel this way because I'm so happy and grateful I look this way because okay. And then we're just going to end with a little bit of connected breath. Was there any change for you in terms of 1 to 10 about that limiting belief? Karen?
What do you mean a change?
How do you feel about that limiting belief now?
Oh, I feel like I can accept it a little more, or try to.
Yeah. And so the tapping, it's not a one and done, you know, it's like really cue into and any feelings that come up, like notice them. Okay. And validate them, and also try to release them and replace them. It's up to us to rewrite our story here. Okay. So I'm going to read something. You're going to do the connected breath again. I'm going to read something real quick for you. And I want you to just breathe in and relax during this, okay? So this is a loving kindness meditation. So you're gonna remember, you're gonna breathe in, make everything big and soft. You're gonna exhale, tighten up, including the pelvic floor. So I'm gonna leave you to do that on your own as I read this. Okay. May I be free from inner and outer harm and danger. May I be safe and protected. May I be free of mental suffering or distress. May I be happy. May I be free of physical and pain and suffering. May I be healthy and strong. May I be able to live in this world happily, peacefully, joyfully, and with ease. May all beings be safe, happy, healthy, and live joyously. May all living beings be safe, healthy, and live joyously. May all breathing beings be happy, healthy, and live joyously. May I be safe from harm. May I be happy just as I am. May I be peaceful with whatever is happening. May I be healthy and strong. May I care for myself in this ever-changing world graciously and joyously. All right. So that's it. I hope that was helpful.
It was good. Thank you.
And I'm going to type up what we can do as a little addendum, okay? Sorry for keeping you so late. I didn't realize how much content I had here. Holy crow. Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you on Facebook and in the app, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, girls.
Bye.